Imagine burning 8,000 calories a day in minus 40 degrees weather. Not for a workout, not for a challenge, just to survive. Imagine sitting in a cramped wooden shack with 80 grown men silently shoveling down plates of pork fat, beans, and bear grease biscuits, because talking wasn't allowed. Not just discouraged, it was banned. Or fast forward a century. Imagine people building an actual underground smuggling network just to sneak a children's snack across the border. This wasn't just food. This was survival. And some of these meals were so extreme, they completely disappeared. Today, we're diving into the brutal, bizarre, and completely forgotten foods that built Canada, from survival meals that fueled an entire nation, to grocery store snacks that vanished overnight. And trust me, some of these should not have worked, but they did. Let's start in the frozen north, because this is where things get extreme. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, Canadian lumberjacks weren't just working hard. They were operating at levels that would break most people today. A chemist studying a logging camp in 1902 found that these men burned up to 8,000 calories a day. That's more than triple what most people eat now. So what did they eat? Massive quantities of baked beans, sometimes over 1.5 pounds per day. Salt pork, bread soaked in fat, endless pancakes. But here it gets strange. The camp cook wasn't just a chef. He was the second most powerful man in the entire camp, right behind the boss. And if he messed up, if the food was bad, they called him a belly robber, and the workers would literally quit and walk into the wilderness just to find a better cook. But the rules inside these camps were even more brutal. No talking at all. You sat down, you ate, you had about 8 minutes. That was it. The only sounds were forks hitting tin plates and boots scraping the floor. Talk and you were thrown out. Harsh, yeah, but the math explains it. The cook had been awake since 3 a.m., making hundreds of pancakes on a wood stove for dozens of starving men. There was no time for conversation, only fuel. And that is exactly what the food was. By winter's peak, butter ran out, so cooks replaced it with rendered lard or even black bear fat. Fresh fruit? Gone. So they made something called vinegar pie, made from apple cider vinegar, sugar, eggs, and a lard crust. And somehow it tasted like lemon pie. But even that wasn't the strangest dish, because there was one meal that defined pure survival. Rubaboo. This was the ultimate forgotten food. A dense, heavy stew made from dried meat preserved in fat, mixed with pumpkin and dried peas or corn flour. It was so calorie-dense that just a small portion could fuel a man through an entire day of brutal labor in freezing temperatures. Voyageurs carried it. Lumberjacks relied on it. And then, it vanished. By the 1930s, as railroads brought fresh food deeper into the country, Rubaboo disappeared completely. No brands, no restaurants, no modern version, just gone. And that is a pattern you are going to see again and again. Because as Canada modernized, food did not just evolve, it split. From survival to ingenuity. During the economic collapse of the 1920s and the 30s, people didn't have the luxury of wasting anything. So they got creative. In Montreal, factory workers created something called pouding chômeur, a name that means poor man's pudding. You pour boiling maple syrup and cream over raw cake batter before baking it. It sounds like a disaster. But somehow, the batter rises, the syrup sinks, and it creates this perfect combination of fluffy cake and caramel sauce. It shouldn't work, but it does. Out west, another strange dessert took over. Flapper pie, a towering slice of graham crust, thick custard, and a massive meringue topping. It was everywhere, until it wasn't. After World War II, it faded out almost completely. Why? Because it spoiled too fast, too inconvenient, too much effort. And that right there is how a lot of foods die, not because they're bad, but because they don't fit modern life. Across the country, people kept adapting. In Acadian communities, they made fricot, a thick chicken stew built by adding flour directly into hot grease to create a rich, velvety broth. In Newfoundland, they made figgy duff. It was boiled in a cloth bag for hours, alongside salted meat. In Quebec, there was saipat, a massive layered meat pie cooked slowly for hours, with spices that feel completely out of place today. These were not just recipes, they were survival strategies. But here is where things take a turn, because not all foods disappeared slowly. Some were erased almost instantly. From your grocery store, car. In the 1970s and the 1980s, Canadian families stocked their garages with glass bottles from a company called Pop Shoppe. You'd return empty bottles, refill the case, and take it home again. Then, it vanished. Big soda companies took over the shelves, and just like that, the system disappeared. Or take the Joss Lewis, a chocolate-covered snack cake that defined childhood for generations. Then in 2015, everything changed. The company was bought, the recipe changed, the size shrank, and people noticed immediately. The version people grew up with? Gone. Same story with potato chips. Hostess chips once dominated Canada. They created flavors people still love today. Then a corporate buyout happened. The chips did not disappear, the brand did, replaced before most people even realized. And sometimes, people fight back. In 2021, when a popular snack was discontinued in Canada, people didn't just complain. They crossed the border, bought it in bulk, and resold it. This was actual snack smuggling. Because when food disappears, it's not just food, it's memory. And that brings us to something bigger. Food doesn't just vanish randomly. It disappears in 3 ways. First, when the job disappears. No more logging camps, no more survival meals. Second, when convenience wins. If it takes too long or spoils too fast, it dies. But the third reason, that's the one people hate. Food disappears because a spreadsheet says it should. And that's why this matters. Because food isn't just calories, it's context, it's memory, it's identity. When something disappears, it takes a piece of culture with it. A moment, a feeling, a time. And if you're into stories like this, hidden history, forgotten systems, things that quietly shape the world, hit subscribe now, because this is just the surface. Because at the end of the day, Canada wasn't built on maple syrup and poutine. It was built on beans, on pork fat, on meals that most people today wouldn't even recognize. And now, most of them are gone, quietly. One recipe at a time, one kitchen at a time, one generation at a time. So I want to know, which of these shocked you the most? And what's a food from your country that completely disappeared? Drop it in the comments. Because honestly, that comment section might be the only place some of these foods still exist. Stay curious.